Hey everyone, today I'm diving deep into one of the tensest moments in modern history, the Cuban Missile Crisis. This event brought the world to the brink of nuclear war and tested the resolve and diplomacy of the world's superpowers. Picture this, it's October 1962. The air is thick with tension and the world is on edge. People everywhere are glued to their radios and televisions, anxiously awaiting updates. The Cold War is in full swing and the world is holding its breath. The United States and the Soviet Union are locked in a fierce ideological battle, each side wary of the other's next move. It all started when an American U-2 spy plane snapped aerial photos of Soviet ballistic missiles in Cuba. These images were undeniable proof that the Soviet Union was setting up offensive weapons just 90 miles off the coast of Florida. This was a big deal. The discovery sent shockwaves through the American government and the public. News headlines screamed of the imminent threat, and people began to fear the worst. These missiles were capable of reaching the US mainland in minutes, and that was a direct threat. The potential for destruction was unimaginable, and the clock was ticking. President John F. Kennedy had a massive dilemma on his hands. The weight of the world was on his shoulders as he deliberated on the best course of action. How do you respond to such a threat without sparking a nuclear war? The stakes were incredibly high, and any misstep could lead to catastrophic consequences. Kennedy's team decided on a naval blockade, which they called a quarantine, to avoid the legal implications of a blockade. This was a strategic move to prevent further missiles from reaching Cuba. They demanded the removal of the missiles and set up a naval perimeter around Cuba. The US Navy was on high alert, ready to intercept any Soviet ships attempting to breach the quarantine. Imagine the tension, Soviet ships on one side, American forces on the other, and the world watching nervously. It was a high-stakes game of chicken, with neither side willing to back down. Behind the scenes, diplomatic channels were buzzing. Both sides were engaged in intense negotiations, trying to find a way out of the crisis without losing face. Robert Kennedy, the president's brother, even met secretly with the Soviet ambassador. These back-channel communications were crucial in de-escalating the situation. The world was literally on the edge of its seat. Families huddled together, watching the news, praying for a peaceful resolution. Finally, after 13 excruciating days, a deal was struck. The tension began to ease as both sides reached an agreement. The Soviets agreed to dismantle their missiles in Cuba in exchange for the US promising not to invade Cuba. This public agreement was a significant step towards defusing the crisis. But there was a secret part of the deal too. Behind closed doors, another agreement was made that would further ease tensions. The US agreed to remove its missiles from Turkey, which were a threat to the Soviet Union. This concession was kept out of the public eye but was crucial in securing the Soviet withdrawal from Cuba. The Cuban Missile Crisis was a masterclass in brinkmanship. Both sides pushed each other to the edge, but ultimately, cooler heads prevailed. It showed just how close we came to nuclear war and highlighted the importance of diplomacy. The crisis underscored the need for open communication channels and the ability to negotiate under pressure. It's a vivid reminder of the fragile balance of power and the high stakes of international politics. The decisions made during those 13 days had far-reaching consequences for global relations. So, next time you think about the Cold War, remember those 13 days in October when the world came perilously close to the edge. It was a time when the fate of the world hung in the balance. The Cuban Missile Crisis wasn't just a chapter in a history book, it was a real-life drama that shaped the future of global relations. The lessons learned from this crisis continue to resonate in today's geopolitical landscape. Thanks for tuning in, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into history, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more fascinating stories. See you next time.